Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin, I just wanted to mention that Mrs. Nally is out of town this evening and won't be joining us. Agenda item 2.03, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. 2.04. Somebody's thing is buzzing. It's your cell phone, Dr. Olato. It's Dr. Olato's cell phone. Okay. There we go. 2.04, the next item is to establish the agenda order, and the agenda stands as published. Item 2.05, recognitions. Tonight we would like to recognize 3 of our elementary schools and 1 of our high schools for earning the 2014 Wellness School of Distinction Awards. And I believe Ms. Rissy has a presentation.
Good evening. I'm Jody Rissy, the Supervisor of Food and Nutrition Services, and I have the pleasure of introducing this evening's board recognition. Members of the board and Dr. Arlotto, I'm excited to talk about this evening's honorees, Jacobsville, Hilltop, and Arnold Elementary Schools and Southern High School, which were recently named as the winners of the 2014 AACPS Wellness School of Distinction Award. It's in its 4th year, and the Wellness School of Distinction Awards recognize schools that demonstrate a high priority for the health and the well-being of the students, staff, and the school community by producing positive outcomes. In order to win this prestigious honor, these 4 schools made it clear that addressing all 8 components of the coordinated school health model is essential to the success of these students. The components, as outlined by the Centers of Disease Control, are health education, physical education and activity, health personnel partnerships, nutrition services, mental wellness, the school environment, staff health, and family and community involvement. From an engaging outdoor classroom to raising thousands of dollars for health causes, earning green school status, and conducting family fitness nights, Jacobsville's, Hilltop's, Arnold's, and Southern's approach to creating a culture of wellness have uniquely met the needs of their students, their staff, and communities through strong business partnerships and collaborations. As an extension of the AACPS Wellness Council and policy, the award will continue to be given annually. This is the 2nd such award for Jacobsville and Arnold, which were our first winners just 3 years ago. As principals, students, and staff members, also community represented by the school's wellness committees come forward, please join me in congratulating the 2014 Wellness Schools of Distinction. Jacobsville Elementary School. Hilltop Elementary School.
Louise DiGiacio, I just want to say that all honor goes to this committee. I always praise the Lord, but I want to tell you I'm praising this committee. And tonight, excuse the attire, but we are having a wellness night. And in spite of that, we decided to come and accept the honor. So thank you very much.
Very nice to meet you. Good. Congratulations. Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, it is like you're not going to walk in and say. Excuse me. I can't.
This is the committee's. That's theirs. They did it. They're fabulous. Thank you, Jerry.
Arnold Elementary School. And Southern High School. Thank you to all the winners for having healthy students, healthy schools, and cultivating communities of wellness.
Item 2.06, we'll move on to school and community highlights. Do any of my fellow board members have anything to share? Ms. Ritchie?
Just real quickly that we went to the parent involvement conference at community college that they held at the community college, and had over 400 people who registered to attend, and it was an absolutely brilliant day. They had a lot of great workshops, and parents from, including ours, yes, we gave a workshop as well, and nobody threw anything at me, so I think it went well. But it was really a great opportunity because in the audience they asked you how many were elementary, middle, and high school, and it was well attended by all three groups of people. And so to Teresa Tudor, and particularly to Ann Weaver, who was the chair behind all that, or coordinator of that, kudos. It's again another excellent conference that we provided for free, including feeding lunch and some breakfast to parents. So thank you.
Aisha Chaudhry.
This past Tuesday, I got to attend the Veterans Day ceremony at Crofton Middle School, and it was wonderful. And we had our own Kevin Jackson and Mrs. Jackson deliver a wonderful speech, so that was great. And then I also got to attend the Avid Leadership Conference with Dr. Arlotto, which again was great. I personally didn't grow up with AVID. I never took it, but after going to the conference and learning about students that kind of get a head start in the AVID program, it was pretty amazing. And I got this whole new perspective about these students that take AVID, and they're a lot more prepared for college. When I did my applications, I was not as prepared as many of them were, so that was really wonderful. And it was held at Annapolis High School, so they did a wonderful job too.
Mrs. Brandenburg.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to go see Grease at Severna Park High School Friday night, and it was absolutely amazing. It always surprises me year after year. Not surprises me, but every time I'm just taken aback by the talent and the poise that these children have and students. It was absolutely incredible. At one point, my 2-year-old was trying to do the hand jive. It was so cute. Absolutely loved it. I had the chance also to attend the Severna Park Field Hockey State Championship, where they won, second year in a row that I've had the chance to see it. And why I had a chance, I wanted to also highlight that Severna Park High School volleyball won the championship, state championship. Severna Park Cross Country won the state championship, and Northeast High School Unified Tennis also won the state championship. So it's been a great year for Anne Arundel County Public Schools, our athletic program. Thank you.
Dr. Arlotto.
Thank you. Just wanted to highlight some of the members of the board have already talked about the AVID Student Leadership Conference at Annapolis High School last week. Was fabulous, well attended, and a great opportunity, I think, for our students to sort of expand some of their knowledge on AVID and their leadership skills. I got the great opportunity this past Friday night to attend the NAACP Freedom Fund dinner, where our own Andre Dillard, principal of Georgetown East Elementary, was honored. It was a nice evening, and it was great to be there for Andre and his family. Family Involvement Conference, so I talked about at the community college, fabulous. Monday night, I was able to go to the volleyball championship, where Severna Park girls won. It was a packed house at Ritchie Coliseum, well attended by both schools and well played. It was a lot of fun. Congratulations to those young ladies. Last night, Mr. Webb and I were able to attend the dedication of the Career and Technology Wing of the Phoenix Center, which was dedicated to Mr. Bill Harris, who was the first principal of Phoenix. It was more than a dedication. It was absolutely a reunion of folks that knew and loved him and worked with him, and so that was very enjoyable. And in the past week, the highlight absolutely is I've gotten a chance to visit both Hillsmere and Tyler Heights. The kids are adorable, and they're working hard, and the teachers are hard at it, so that was a lot of fun as well. So thank you.
Mrs. Birch.
I just want to give a shout out to my children's school. They did a Boosterthon fun run today. They raised $28,000 by running around the school by doing laps. They raised money from all 50 states and 25 countries. That's what happens when you live across the street from a military base. And because they did that, the principal and assistant principal had to dress up like fairy princesses and got duct taped to the wall. So I just thought everyone would want to know that. So if you know Miss Levatine, let her know you heard about her outfit today.
I also had the chance to attend the NAACP Freedom Fund dinner with folks from the board and the Family Involvement Conference as well. And I thank Debbie Ritchie for putting on the board workshop for us. And I also want to thank our union leadership for joining us at our board retreat Saturday afternoon at AACC. It was a wonderful conversation. And for Dr. Arlotto to come with me today and allow me to tour Tyler Heights. It was nice to get out there and see the school. Mrs. Brandenburg.
Thank you. Tonight, I am formally resigning my Board of Education seat effective November 30th this year. I'm accepting another opportunity and as such will not be able to continue my position on the Board of Education. I am proud of my contributions to this board and look forward to continuing the conversation and work in my new role. This school system has made significant advancements during my time on the board. I could not be more excited for Anne Arundel County Public Schools and the new leadership under Dr. Arlotto. Progress will be continued to be made for all kids in our county, including my own. I look forward to helping in any possible way I can. As Ronald Reagan said in his farewell address, as long as we remember our first principles and believe in ourselves, the future will always be ours. And something else that we had learned. Once you begin a great movement, there's no telling where it will end. We meant to change a nation, and instead we changed the world. I believe we are here at the beginning of a great movement, and I'm thrilled to be part of it. We are all Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
Dr. Arlotto.
Thank you, Ms. Korbelak. I just wanted to say thank you for your time, your dedication, time away from your family to dedicate to all the kids in Anne Arundel County. We're delighted. I'm sad that you're leaving the board, but delighted that we continue to have your children in Anne Arundel County Public Schools and that you have entrusted their education to us. And so I do thank you for your time and energy. We are a better school system, I think, because of your contributions over the last couple of years. So thank you for that. We have just a gift for you from the staff and board. Some pictures of your time with us. So thank you. Wonderful.
Emily, I just want to say, in the 3.5 years you've been on the board, you've helped us build bridges with our elected officials. You put a price tag on the positive economic impact that our school system has on the county, and you've worked tirelessly to improve board contract language and streamline our processes. And although you won't be here on the dais with us, I'm glad that we'll still have your children in school and a partner on the sidelines. And I want to thank you for everything. Mr. Webb?
Miss Brandenburg, this does not get you out of buying me those grapefruit crushes next summer. You've been invaluable to this board. I had a dream of having a budget committee, and you just took it to the next level. I wanted to see what economic impact we had as a school system on this county. You took that to the next level. You've done a wonderful job since you've been here. It's going to be hard to replace all of that resource, you know that. But we'll do our best. And I'm impressed that you brought your 2-year-old in to learn how to be a board member at that early age. Oh my God.
Aisha?
I don't know why it's making that noise. Okay. Even though I haven't known Amelie, but like Solon said, she has brought wonderful resources to the board. But not only that, she's been a wonderful friend to me on the board specifically. So I want to say thank you so much. She was very accepting of me when I came onto the board and made me feel accepted. So I want to thank you for that. Coming in as the only student member, it's hard, and everyone was accepting. And I just want to say thank you.
Mrs. Ritchie?
Well, we will try to keep the budget. I won't be chairing it, so we won't have to worry about that. I know that there was probably a little, when I said, yes, I'd be on that committee, she's probably going, oh, damn. Because we all know how I am with that. But I've enjoyed the opportunity to do that, and I've also enjoyed the time where we may disagree, but ultimately at the end, our agreement has always been about what's best for kids, and so I've always appreciated that.
Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to item 2.07, the Krask report.
Good evening, President Korbelak, Dr. Arlotto, and members of the board. My name is Jacob Horskamp, and I'm the second vice president of the Chesapeake Regional Association of Student Councils. Krask assembled last month preparing for the General Assembly on December 3rd. We intend to present the student delegation with our proposed changes to the Krask election rules. This document represents the portion of our Constitution that governs our election process for both officers and the student board member. It is important to us that we consider the priorities of the entire community, and we've welcomed input the last 2 executive staff meetings. We would like to thank Richard Benfer, Elizabeth Dotson, and Karma O'Neill for participating in our discussions. A few of the proposed changes include establishment of an ethics committee to oversee procedures and insurance compliance of the rules, expansion of the interview panel, a lift on the ban of electronic campaigning, and further clarification on campaign funding. Considering the amount of time spent updating these parameters, I feel like we have landed on a very agreeable place, and I hope this is reflected on the smooth passage of this legislation so I can report on the adoption to you this next month. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the students of Anne Arundel County, and have a happy holiday.
2.08, the PTA report.
Good evening, President Korbelak, Dr. Arlotto, and members of the board. I'm Pam Bukowski, President of the Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs. During this month, AACC PTA has continued to be available to offer workshops and trainings for all our local units. On October 27th, the session was offered to assist officers with the filing of 990s, the annual reporting returns that certain federally tax-exempt organizations must file with the IRS. For officers unable to attend but still requiring some assistance, talk-throughs by phone were held. And because 5 leadership sessions were being held at schools in the North County and Glen Burnie clusters, 990 explanations were given at that time as well. We have continued to provide training for our local unit PTA officers so that they will be strong, effective leaders for their respective school associations. In addition, we are working diligently to assure that all of Anne Arundel County PTAs are in complete compliance. There were several opportunities for PTA presence and or representation during the past month. October 28th at the redistricting meeting for the Annapolis cluster held at the Eastport Community Center, November 3rd at the Annapolis Education Commission, November 13th at the CCAC meeting, and November 15th at the annual Family Involvement Conference at the Anne Arundel Community College, sponsored by the Office of School and Family Partnerships. Several PTA members were on hand to volunteer, as well as to attend workshops scheduled for the 400 pre-registrants. In order to encourage parental input, all PTA officers have received emails from me with information from Mr. Jackson regarding the policy committee, as well as links to providing opinions for the school calendar year, the Start School Later Task Force recommendations, and the MDS-3 survey. During the month, I also had the opportunity to meet with Anthony Alston and Becky Scow of the Office of Equity and Accelerated Student Achievement, who have been reaching out to stakeholder groups. Mr. Alston will be joining our AACC PTA board meeting tomorrow evening to share the overall vision of the office. We look forward to being a part of the collaborative effort in elevating all students, eliminating all gaps, as we see this as representative of the mission and purposes of PTA. Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs continues in our efforts to be collaborative with Superintendent Arlotto and board personnel to support our school staff and general communities, to encourage and engage parents, and to advocate for all children. As always, PTA thanks you for these many opportunities to speak for every child, one voice.
Next, we'll have public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not on today's agenda may offer testimony during the public comment portion of the meeting. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes each, and the board asks that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audiences that may be watching or viewing this meeting. Student-specific and personnel matters are confidential and cannot be discussed in this forum. This time is intended for speakers to voice their opinion and not necessarily as a question and answer period. Speakers may pose questions, but answers will be counted toward the 3-minute allotment. For the record, please give your name before speaking, and any handouts should be given to our board assistant. I have 2 completed cards, Heather McIntosh and Gerald Stansberry.
Hello. Hi. Heather McIntosh, and I'm here representing the group Start School Later. I'm also the parent of 2 high schoolers, so as I like to remind people, I know about this school start time issue. I wanted to begin by saying that I was thrilled to see health and wellness recognized in the elementary schools tonight. Way to go. Meanwhile, I have a brand new study that I've distributed to the board members, and I have a hard copy tonight, talking about 2 neighboring districts in Virginia where the car crash rate for teenagers is 30% higher in a school district that starts at 7:20 versus a district that starts at 8:45. This is a 2-year, very well done, respectful study, and I think this is really important. The study calls for parents and school boards to work together to come up with a high school start time that allows teens to get the healthy sleep that they need to meet their full potential. And I'm sure that health and safety are among your highest priorities. I wanted to ask you, since the beginning of October, when the School Start Time Task Force presented their report, I wanted to ask what progress the board has made working with Dr. Arlotto and the administration on purchasing transportation software. I'm hoping that that's coming. That was certainly recommended in the task force report and would be essential to streamline the schedules that were provided or suggested, and also to analyze cost to the most specific degree so that you can make your plans. I wonder also if there's a plan to request funding in this year's budget. I sincerely hope that there's some thought towards that. And I just would like to ask again that the board would resolve to move towards healthy and safe start times for all kids, the health and safety of all ages of children in AACPS is important. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Chair. How you doing? I'm glad to see you again. I did see you at the NAACP Freedom Fund dinner, the both, and I really appreciate you having your staff to come there. I guess I came mainly to hear the update on the diversity issues that you have, and so that's on the agenda, so I'm not going to really speak to that. But what I would like to mention, though, I am one of the original signers on the OCR agreement, and there's been rumors that there are people who feel that the OCR agreement has expired. From the advice that I've been given and talking to advisors, the agreement doesn't expire until the terms of the agreement have been met. So I'm just going to ask that you all look at that. Secondly, I just want you to know that we are concerned about diversity in Anne Arundel County. And I like the statement, we all are Anne Arundel County. And I would like to see that more within the school system, because I would like to see our children be able to walk in and see African Americans, not just as janitors or cooks, but as teachers or in leadership position. And I personally have did some walking through for some of the schools, and believe me, I'm very disturbed by what I see. So I'm asking some of you all to do the same thing. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to have a minute to say hello and meet some of you, because many of you are new. I've been working with the school board for a long time, and I don't mind coming down, meeting with any of you, you know, to discuss any issues that we might have. So I am the state president for the NAACP, and I have branches all over the state of Maryland. In fact, I'll be in Prince George's County tomorrow with some issues they have there. But just want you to know, I'm here for you, you know, and I'm asking that we work together to try to bring what you're trying to do is a diverse Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
Mrs. Birch.
I want to thank you for coming, and I appreciate your offer to assist us, because what you mentioned is something we do have a lot of problems with, is getting the diversity of the staff into our schools. And one of the problems that we have is that there aren't, we're competing with other school districts for the same minority teachers and administrators. So if you can help us figure out how to get the minority community to encourage their students to become teachers from the beginning, so that we have a broader pool, you know, those are things we would love to work with you on. And but those are things we would love to work with you on, because those are all things that we do wrestle with, and we do need to work together on. So thank you very much for coming.
And I just wanted to mention to Mrs. McIntosh that we would like you just to come back in December when the budget gets presented. I don't have any additional cards. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to action items. Item 4.01, administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the personnel listed on the attached sheet be promoted and or appointed.
All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. Item 4.02 is an information item, Family Life and Human Sexuality Advisory Committee Policy KBB 501.02, and this is a second reading. And I see there were no public comments received during the 30-day posting. Are there any board comments or questions? Are there any public comments? Okay. Item 4.03. Also an information item.
Thank you.
Advisory committees to the board policy KB 501, also a second reading. And there were no public comments received during the 30-day posting on the website. Are there any board comments or questions? Any public comments? Okay. Item 4.04, also an information item, Citizen Advisory Committee Policy KBA 501.01, second reading. And there were no public comments.
There actually was a public comment, but
okay.
we received it late prior to the publishing of the cover sheet. And we did address it. It was an individual comment asking that a particular office within the board have a seat on the CAC. And we explained, the purpose of the CAC and addressed the person's concerns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any board comments or questions? Any public comment? Item 4.05, also an information item, the Ethics and Conflict of Interest Policy BAF, second reading, and there were no public comments received during the 30-day posting on the website. Are there any board comments or questions? Any public comment? Okay. Item 4.06, the 2015 legislative program. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. We now have an action item. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of the revised 2015 legislative program.
Okay, we have a presentation.
Just brief comments. In preparation for the upcoming legislative session, I bring to you a recommended draft of the 2015 legislative program. Once approved and printed, this document is shared with elected officials and posted on our website for the public to view. The legislative program provides information on the board's positions related to legislative issues. This document serves as a valuable resource during the 90-day legislative session, as it allows us to hit the ground running with pre-filed bills and other issues that arise, so that the board has a standard position and consistent response to recurring proposed bills and other related matters. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about this document.
Mrs. Birch?
I actually have a couple amendments that I would like to make to the document. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and move that make the following changes. And they're both on page 1, which is the academic achievement page. On page 1, academic achievement, under AACPS supports, insert career and technology programs, so that the first bullet reads as follows. The funding of the development and implementation of programs to increase student participation in honors courses, advanced placement courses, the International Baccalaureate Program, career and technology education programs, and other rigorous academic coursework with specific emphasis on increasing minority student participation in these kinds of challenging academic programs. So that's the first item. And then later on that page, and the reason for that is because we don't want to ignore in our college and career readiness that we are wanting our students to be career ready, not just college ready. So we felt that there was an oversight there. Also on page 1, under academic achievement, under AACPS supports, I'd like to add a 5th bullet that reads, the recommendations of educational professionals regarding participation in programs that provide the best opportunities to support and accelerate achievement for students with disabilities, and keeping the burden of proof for those filing legal complaints with parents and/or guardians of such students.
Second.
Any board discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor?
Yeah.
On the amendment, yes. The amendment passes 7-0-0. And did you say you had another one, or just it was just that?
It's both of those incorporated in. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions about the remaining legislative program? Any public comment? We have a motion that's been properly made and seconded. All those in favor for adopting the 2015 legislative program? Opposed? Are you opposed? Okay. So motion passes 6-1-0. The next item on the agenda is 5.01. This is a review item on the strategic plan update, teacher recruitment and workforce diversity. And we have a presentation.
Good evening, President Korbelak, Dr. Arlotto, and members of the board. For the record, I'm Flori Bozzella, Executive Director of Human Resources, and I would like my colleagues with me this evening to introduce themselves.
Bill Goodman, Senior Manager of Human Capital Management.
Jennifer Bass, Acting Recruitment Manager.
Shanika Moore, our Workforce Diversity Specialist, is unable to join us this evening as she is on extended leave, spending quality time with her new infant daughter and a potential future student in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Members of the board and Dr. Arlotto, the Teacher Recruitment and Workforce Diversity Report you have before you today provides detailed information regarding teacher recruitment activities during the 2013-14 school year, as well as statistical information regarding new Unit 1 hires, such as their prior experience, degree, and certification. In addition, this report provides a profile of the current workforce, broken down by race, ethnicity, and gender in each employee group. Lastly, the report provides reflections on successes and challenges in recruiting, staffing, and hiring a diverse workforce. Tonight's presentation will highlight some of the information contained in your report. And with that, I'm going to ask Jennifer Bass to discuss our recruitment activities that led to this year.
Unit 1 employees represent 63% of Anne Arundel County Public Schools workforce. Recruitment efforts in AACPS are year-round, with increasingly aggressive strategies beginning as early as October for the following school year. Each year, AACPS participates in many college teacher recruitment activities, both locally and out of state, to attract teachers to our district. The map delineates the human resources hiring specialists and where they've traveled during the recruitment season for 2013-2014. For more information, a copy of the recruitment schedule for 2013-2014 is included in the report. For the past 5 years, AACPS has sponsored a teacher diversity recruitment weekend in effort to attract outstanding diverse teacher candidates to work in our district. Since its inception, approximately 172 candidates have participated in this event. Of the candidates who attended, 67% accepted an offer to work in our district, equating to approximately 115 candidates. Last year, 88% of the offers extended were accepted by the candidates. Of the event attendees, 32% were male and 61% were minority. AACPS has regularly participated in the Maryland Education Recruitment Consortium, an event sponsored jointly by the Maryland State Department of Education and the Maryland Association of School Personnel and Administration. All 24 school jurisdictions are encouraged to participate in this recruitment event in effort to attract teachers to Maryland. Each year, hundreds of prospective applicants participate in this event coming from all locations throughout the United States and other countries. In March 2014, we implemented the first AACPS after Merck job fair, which allowed us to interview a large number of prospective teacher candidates from our Merck pool. Based on a preliminary screening, over 120 candidates were invited to attend this job fair. Our efforts targeted high-need areas such as math, science, special education, and as well as teachers in underrepresented groups such as males in elementary education, Hispanics, and non-whites. 18 school administrators and numerous central office staff participated in this event held at North County High School. Of the candidates who attended, 42 were given open offers, and 24 of those accepted these open offers. Now I pass it over to Flory, who will discuss our recruitment data.
Thank you. So as we started this school year, we began with hiring 761 new hires across all job groups, but the largest percentage of our new hires were in Unit 1. While hiring has continued, the data before you today and what we're discussing is data as of October 6. As we look at the demographics of our new hires, you see that 23% of our new hires in Anne Arundel County Public Schools are non-white. In Unit 1, which several years ago we targeted out those positions because those are the positions that have the most direct contact with students, our recruitment was 17% were non-white. We differentiate that data based on information that we had gathered several years ago under the old strategic plan, and we felt it was appropriate to keep those targets there for you to see as we look at historical data. We look at the recruitment of males in our system, we can see that education continues to be a primarily female occupation, with almost 80% of our current workforce being female. This year, 20% of our overall hires were female, while in Unit 1, only 16% of our new hires were male. So what additional information can I tell you about our new hires in Unit 1? Some of that data is before you, but let me highlight some of that. As of October 6th, we had hired 594 teachers compared to 583 teachers the year before. 115 of our new teacher hires were graduates of Anne Arundel County Public Schools. First-year teachers account for 55% of our new hires this year. 74% of our newly hired teachers have less than 5 years of experience. 17% of our new hires came to us with experience from other Maryland school districts, including Baltimore, Howard, Montgomery, and Prince George's. 53.6% of our new hires have an advanced degree, master's equivalency, master's degree, or a doctorate. And 22% of our new hires hold an advanced professional certificate. 63% hold a standard professional certificate. Anne Arundel County continues to support its efforts to encourage the professional development of its teachers, particularly with regard to national board certification. As of October of 2014, we have 348 nationally board certified teachers in our schools, in addition to over 50 employees in central office who hold national board certification. We have over 100 teachers who are anxiously awaiting their scores that were just released on Saturday, hoping to join their colleagues who have already achieved national board certification. In the current strategic plan, one of our indicators of success is to have at least one nationally board certified teacher in every one of our schools by 2016-17. Currently, every feeder has schools with teachers holding national board certification. 4 of the 12 feeders have 100% representation of national board certified teachers in their schools, and others are on their way to helping us achieve that goal. Once the new achievers are released publicly, we expect the numbers to increase in several of our clusters. With the start of this current school year, we had many new school administrators that joined the school administration ranks. Here you will see that, again, our promotions continue to be predominantly female, similar to past years. Again, a predominantly female population. And with regard to race and ethnicity, you can see the number of promotions over the past 2 years, as well as our new hires for diverse and white administrators. While our new administrators are not getting direct mentoring like our Right Start advisors, they do have supports provided to them through the Office of Professional Growth and Development. But in addition, for the past 2 years, the Division of Human Resources has invited all new principals to meet with us prior to them taking over their role as leaders in their buildings. In that meeting, we include a presentation from the Communications Office regarding handling media events and emergencies, and we spend time talking with new principals about HR issues, as well as addressing school climate and employee engagement. Our Office of Professional Growth and Development continues to provide supports for those administrators, and the Division of Human Resources will meet with those new principals again in the spring to talk about other topics related to teacher tenure, teacher evaluations, and certification renewal. With that, I'll pass this to Mr. Goodman, who will talk about our current workforce.
So when looking at the data for the overall employee demographics by gender, it clearly shows that we have remained fairly constant during this 6-year window. By examining the data further, it shows that in our Unit 1 teacher group, we currently have 16.8% males, which is a few percentage points below the national average. We continue to focus on recruiting males at all of our events. The percentage of male teachers in high school is still much larger than that of both middle school and elementary school. When looking at the overall employee demographics for race and ethnicity, we have seen a reduction in our overall minority employees from the previous school year. This reduction could be connected to the growing number of employee separations as well as a shift in the overall economy. This slide shows the individual breakdown of each unit within our different job groups. Unit 3 clearly has the highest percentage of racial and ethnic diversity, while our Unit 1 data shows the least diversity at this time. From 2013-14 to this current year, there was a decrease in the percentage of diverse employees in all job groups as a result of separations and replacements. Recruitment is and always will be a critical focus for AACPS, but there must be an increased focus on retention. We spend significant time, energy, and resources investing in all new hires. Therefore, as we grow people professionally, we must focus on keeping those people in front of our children where they can have the largest impact on the students of Anne Arundel County Public Schools. A few of the issues that hamper both recruitment and retention are as follows. We have a small group of diverse candidates each year. This group is being heavily recruited by multiple jurisdictions. Our salaries are not competitive with all other jurisdictions and therefore make it hard to bring diverse candidates on board even when offered an open contract. Recruiting from other counties is extremely difficult considering they must take a 3-step reduction in salary to join our workforce. This is compounded when they are already making more in their current step than they would in Anne Arundel County at this time. And the price of housing and lack of infrastructure for public transportation make moving here hard for many individuals, especially those moving where the cost of living is much less. Employee turnover was positively impacted by economic issues, particularly from 2008-09 through the 2011-12 school years. This graph clearly shows a shift in our economy over the past few years, as separations are now back to the 2006-07 percentages. While still in the single digits, overall separations between 2012-13 and 2013-14 school years increased slightly, with the current year at 9.5%. This slide breaks down employee turnover by job group to further examine the data. Units 1, 5, and 6 had an increase in turnovers for the previous school year, while Units 3 and 4 had a decrease in turnover during that same time. Unit 2 remained unchanged from the previous year. Unit 1 turnover is especially high among new teachers, with 40 to 50% leaving the profession within the first 5 years, according to published research. According to the Alliance for Excellent Education, about 20% of teachers leave the profession each school year. This reinforces the need to focus on retention for our Unit 1 teachers. The relationships they create within the school building, and especially with the student population, are invaluable. These relationships continue to grow at the same time teacher capacity is increasing in the classroom. An increase in teacher capacity translates directly into more learning for each student in that teacher's classroom. Overall, the past several years, new teacher retention rates for our new hires as well as our minority hires have both exceeded 80%. Our mentoring program for teachers, as well as the support from school leaders, certainly play a powerful role in retaining our new teachers. The ongoing professional development of our school-based administrators is critical in helping them develop high-performing teachers who create positive cultures within their school building. Positive culture creates a high-quality learning environment where all stakeholders feel valued, respected, and supported. In 2012, we partnered with a third-party vendor to conduct exit surveys for our employees who were separating from AACPS. This partnership allows us to gather more detailed and valuable information regarding the reasons for why employees leave Anne Arundel County. It is clear that the majority of separations are for reasons outside of AACPS control, such as relocations, child/elder care, and retirements. However, we still see that resignations account for 57% of Unit 1 and 31% of Unit 2 separations over that time. Retirements account for 23% of the separations in Unit 1 and 68% in Unit 2. Quarterly data reports are provided to the board as well as to the regional assistant superintendents regarding the results of these surveys. Turnover reasons are reported based on race, ethnicity, as well as based on years of experience. Those reports continue to confirm that personal reasons are the primary identified cause for separations of all employees. I'm going to now turn it over to Ms. Bass, who's going to continue to discuss our recruitment efforts.
Thank you. Bill alluded to some of our recruitment challenges, such as our salary scales, and our limited diverse pool of candidates studying in education. However, with our rising diverse student enrollment numbers, especially with the significant increase in Hispanic students, further accentuates urgency and the need for strategic improvements in recruitment. In the meantime, we must deal with the immediate needs of our diverse learners. Currently, our efforts in the area of increased community engagement, support to the English language learners, and enhanced cultural proficiency are essential steps in eliminating the gaps in learning. Going forward, here are some additional, but not limited to, actions that we're taking to combat this challenge. This includes creating a recruitment video in hopes to attract more candidates to our district. We will send this video to various colleges and universities to generate interest. To gauge interest, we will send a survey to these students in these colleges and universities, and based on the data we receive, we can strategically expand our recruitment efforts to these schools. To conquer more recruitment events, our recruitment teams will now include principals, coordinators, and specialists. We are seeking the recruitment of bilingual and multilingual educators. Earlier today, 2 central office employees attended the bilingual Latino and diversity career fair held in Philadelphia. The fair is hosted by latcareers.com. This would be their 10th annual bilingual fair, and this would be our first time attending this fair. It was reported that about 80 educators would be present at this fair. Also, technology plays a huge role. Therefore, we would expand our recruitment efforts virtually through the series of webinars and virtual information sessions. Again, this coupled with the aforementioned recruitment video outreach will hopefully aggrandize our pool of outstanding teacher candidates. I will pass it over to Mr. Goodman, who will conclude with the Workforce Diversity Monitoring Team.
Our Workforce Diversity Monitoring Team meets regularly to discuss issues affecting our ability to have a diverse workforce. We regularly look at statistical data, which includes all school and student populations by race and ethnicity. We monitor the recruitment, hiring, retention, support, and advancement of our diverse workforce. The team meets monthly to discuss the effective initiatives such as the Diversity Recruitment Weekend, as well as initiatives that will help us reach our goals of a diverse workforce within AACPS. We are currently working with Laura Gardner and the Office of ELL Family and Community Outreach. We will be attending the International Parent and Community Advisory Board in January and look forward to helping this partnership continue to grow, which will benefit the students of AACPS. The Division of Human Resources continues to work with school principals to get feedback and input regarding recruitment. We are striving to make the work a partnership with the end goal of finding the best candidates for our students. In addition, using the increasing technology available, we are hopeful that our recruitment efforts can be expanded to new areas that will share the mission and vision of Anne Arundel County Public Schools and provide rich background experiences to all learners. At this time, we are available for questions from the board.
Mr. Webb?
Thank you. I've got a number of questions. The National Board Certification, is there a difference, a qualitative difference in a teacher who has that certification and a teacher who does not have that certification?
That's an interesting question, Mr. Webb. May Wang, who works in the Office of Instructional Data, did some research for us, and her research indicated that in those classrooms where a National Board Certified teacher was the instructor, there was an improvement. I'm not sure how much national research is out there on that, but we looked at our own student data, and I was not part of that. This was a research project, I believe, under Dr. Kubik's direction, or perhaps her predecessor, that was initiated by May Wang, and it found positive findings there.
Let's see. Let me put my glasses on. I can't read my own writing. Let's see. Compensation. We've heard that a number of times. Well, what we've heard is salary differences. One of the things the board has been stressing is look at the total compensation package and compare those. And I think when we looked at it, there was a significant difference, that we were more in line or maybe even above some school districts when you looked at the entire compensation package. So you may want to take a look at that, and that might be one of the things you might want to market going forward. Lack of male teachers, do you think that's primarily due to salary disparities?
I think it's not unique to Anne Arundel County. I think it's nationwide, and I think males have other options available. And traditionally, historically, nursing and education has been a female career path. So we see more females in education, especially in the younger grades. We see more males in high schools. I'm not sure that I can tell you exactly why that happens, but I think the historical data continues not only here in Anne Arundel County, but if we look at our neighboring school districts, their workforce also seems to be primarily female, 80% or better.
Now, I know at one point I had mentioned trying to reach out to the military population that we have in this county, because a lot of them have certifications in the military, but they're not recognized by the state. I believe there was some effort to at least get that on the agenda with the state legislature, and I'll probably talk to our legal officer to see if that's still the case, because we've got a tremendous resource sitting out there, and they can't access our school system because of requirements. And a lot of them, quite frankly, would be excellent teachers in our school system, and a lot of them are males.
Mr. Webb, if I could just jump in on that.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's something that's going to go through the legislature. It may or may not, but it's certainly something that superintendents and others have brought forward to MSDE, and Dr. Lowry is talking with many of us across the state about alternative ways to get folks certified. Not just military, but as we increase, say, for instance, our STEM programs, we need to bring in more teachers that have those very unique abilities in science, technology, math, or engineering. And so there is some discussion about looking at alternative methods of certification.
And as a reminder to the board, several years ago, we signed an MOU with Troops to Teachers for early hiring, and Shanika Moore has participated in many meetings with military groups throughout the county. We have not really had a lot of folks interested in pursuing that. We've had a few inquiries, but despite our efforts to do that, it has not materialized for us significantly.
Regarding non-white separations and replacements, you showed a chart up there for a year or less, the percentage attrition a year or less. What's it look like if we go out 5 years?
In terms of experience?
In terms of how many do we retain after 5 years?
Well, actually, the last exit survey that was sent to the board at the beginning of this school year, which had data up through the respondents from June 30th, showed that 49% of the people that left us last year had 1 to 5 years of experience versus 23% had less than 1 year.
Is 49% relatively high compared to surrounding counties or on national average?
Nationwide, I think they say, if you read things, that 40 to 50% of teachers leave within the first 5 years. So I think we're right showing that that's exactly what happened here.
You mentioned a number of reasons for the recruitment being at the level it is, a small group of diverse candidates. I think I can help you with that. I asked my first year about some schools, whether or not this particular county school system had visited, and they have not. But I think probably some of the other board members can probably reach out to some schools and get some more recruits in here. But we'd be happy to help you with that.
And we would welcome any ideas or suggestions that board members would have to offer to us.
Okay, you mentioned lower salaries, child and elder care. I think I can give you a solution for that. Housing cost. Now, I understand that Maryland Live, the apartments around Maryland Live actually give Maryland Live employees discounts on their rent. Do we have any kind of relationship with any apartment buildings in Anne Arundel County that will do the same thing?
There are some apartment buildings that participate with us in the Teacher Diversity Recruitment Weekend. They've been sponsors of the event and have offered some modified discounts for teachers in Anne Arundel County. But I think what we're talking about is affordable housing for teachers and other public servants that seems to be lacking in this county. And there's been some recent interest in doing something like that near Marley Station Mall. So we're hopeful that perhaps this county will provide some kind of housing. It's challenging to bring people in here where apartments are costing them significantly more than other areas where we've recruited them from, especially people coming from the South, where they can get a 2-bedroom apartment for about $500 or $600 less than what they'd have to pay here.
Now, when you see different school districts in other states, excuse me, that are reducing staff, closing schools, do we look at that as a potential opportunity to recruit?
Yes, sir. We actually did several years ago when Greenville, South Carolina, we learned that they were closing schools and laying off people. We actually put ads in their newspaper and reached out to them. We also, when Detroit was having some issues, we put ads in their newspapers. So we have tried to be mindful of things. Many years ago, one of the board members encouraged us to go to South Dakota to recruit because Mr. Rudolph at the time felt that South Dakota had a lot of teacher education programs and not a lot of job opportunities. And Vanessa Bass and Dr. Washington traveled out there to recruit. It didn't really help. We really need to focus on...
That's because you sent Vanessa Bass and Dr. Washington out there. I've been to South Dakota. They find us interesting. They don't see a lot of African Americans out there.
They also had a blizzard while they were there.
Oh, that'll do it too. Do you think promotional opportunities might be another driver as far as retention of non-white personnel?
Again, I would go back to the exit survey and the data in the exit survey. One of the variables that has been identified is limited growth opportunities. It's not been the primary reason, but it has been a reason that people have indicated there.
And finally, of the promoted people, do you know what the average experience is and the average number of degrees they have, white versus non-white?
Those promoted, I don't have that information with me today, but are you asking about those promoted to school administration positions?
Primarily Unit 1 and Unit 2.
Unit 1, well, could you
Well,
help me
let's work with
understand?
Unit 2.
Okay.
Let's work with Unit 2. I'd like to know what the average level of experience is of the non-white promotees versus the white promotees.
We could pull that information together and report that back to you.
All right. Thank you.
Mrs. Ritchie.
You meant when you're talking about the recruitment and the recruitment weekends and stuff and about making offers, you made mention that some didn't take the offers. Did they explain why they didn't take it?
Yes, we had a variety. Some of them did not want to take an offer because they wanted to see what their options were.
Okay.
It was early. Remember, we said that that event was in, our teacher diversity recruitment weekend is in May, but even in the after MERC event that we had, which was in March, it was early in the recruitment process, and many of them had looked at salary scales for other school districts and they wanted to wait. Some of them said they needed to explore housing and their ability to get here. So those were the primary reasons. We have encouraged our staff to provide open offers to get early hires and commitments. But the reality is that when we have a limited pool of candidates that everybody is looking at, they have options and they're picking the options where they make the most money and where their years of experience are recognized.
Well, you know, it's a buyer's market. So, have we, we didn't talk a lot about the retention piece of it. We talked a lot about the recruitment piece of it and stuff, but, you know, once you get here, what are we doing specifically towards retention, you know, and ensuring that we're working to ensure that they stay and getting them before they get discouraged and want to leave?
Well, we have our Right Start Advisor program supports all of the new teachers. For our diverse candidates, we have a relationship with ASBE to help support them, and our staff meets regularly with some of the diverse candidates that have joined us through the Teacher Diversity Recruitment Weekend. That experience is a great experience for our recruits that come through, because not only do they get a chance to see Anne Arundel County, but they get to bond with a group of other professionals. And so they have some other connections besides us. They have colleagues that are experiencing the same things. And so indicators of retention are really important to providing good mentoring and good professional development opportunities. I think we do a really good job with that, and leadership. And so, as I mentioned, we are trying to work with our school principals early as they begin that role to try to help them establish and create a good culture. And Bill, as a former principal, has done a really good job of talking to them because he was very successful in there. But remember, keep in mind that many of the separations we have are for reasons that really are beyond our control. We hire a lot of female teachers who may leave because of childcare responsibilities after they've had a baby.
Sure.
We are in an area where we have a lot of staff that come with military or government association, and so when their spouses are transferred, they leave. I think the fact that our new teacher retention is over 80% is really good from one year to the next. It's can we hang on to them in the following year? And I think the question about leadership opportunities is probably a really good thing that we need to spend more time on, is showing people where they could go in their career, that there are opportunities, not only being a teacher, but maybe being an instructional leader or other opportunities. So that's a task that we have to work on as a system.
Well, and one of the things that, from years ago that I found was when you're recruiting and you get people from out of state, when they come here, they're moving here a lot of times, and they may not be, especially if they're single, they don't have, the support system that's here and stuff. And also with new teachers, to have that cohort, it's very hard during the day to develop, I don't want to say develop friends, but it's very hard to have that camaraderie because you're in your classrooms and you're busy, and by virtue of what we do, it's a solitary kind of thing. You have 20 minutes at lunch, but you don't really get a chance to do that. And I don't know whether we could work with some of our area restaurants, like in each cluster kind of thing, to offer maybe a quarterly kind of cluster event where it's open to all teachers, not just necessarily new ones, but focusing on some of the newer ones to start to build those camaraderies and those companionships. I tell new nurses all the time, the first thing you need to do is find a best friend that's a nurse, because if you're not in that profession, sometimes you really don't understand the issues and stuff. And so when you want to come and talk to somebody, if I love my husband, but he doesn't really know what I do, okay? And so I need to have that other person who does what I do to be able to talk with and to be able to share with and stuff. And so helping to build some of those things, and we can, sometimes it's good for their businesses as well as for us, to build some kind of, activities where you have that kind of camaraderie and have that ability to do that. So that might be some consideration, and maybe talking with some of the, I believe TAC, I'm not sure, but they've got a relationship with some realtors and stuff that help with the new teachers with the workforce development. And, if we can get some clout behind that as well, because that helps them, to be able to find houses and stuff like that. And I think I shared when I was doing the housing thing, that's a county problem. And it's a county problem not only for our teachers, but for our firefighters and for police officers. And the county wants to hire all these new police officers, well, they've got to come from someplace as well. And so we really have to look at that and figure out ways to partner up, if you will, and maybe have a block of housings or at least a starter place, not a hotel, apartment complex or something that's dedicated towards, our public servants of some sort. So, maybe we can have some conversations with, our police department and our fire department and see what they're doing and see if we can help, to work together on some of those things. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mrs. Birch.
I want to thank you for a great presentation. I want to mention, as I talked about actually before you even came up, that, we really do need to step up our recruiting game. I mean, I think that's where a lot of this is. And I love that you're creating a recruitment video, but I have to say that I kind of gasped when I heard you say that you were sending it out to colleges and universities. Why would you send it out? Why don't all your business cards have a QR code on them? Why don't why aren't you using, you don't send things out to people anymore. You need to be using the technology that 22-year-olds are using, or that 16-year-olds are. You have to be in the now. You can't send videos out to colleges for them to show to people. That's not where we are anymore. You need to send an email and send a blurb and have, when you hand out your card, have a QR code on it so that they can scan it, and then all of a sudden what pops up on their phone is your beautiful face and you saying, you have got to come to Anne Arundel County because this is the best place in the world and you will love it here. Or, a video of some teachers saying why they love teaching here. That's what you need to do. You need to, the QR code pops up and it's, pictures of our beautiful children and our beautiful scenery and what's going on in our schools. You don't send a video to the colleges for the colleges to show to their students. That's not where we are anymore. Anyway, that's just kind of where I wanted to go with that. So anyway.
So it's almost like you're in our conversations. We actually used QR codes last year to pull up the webpage. The video actually is Ms. Bass's idea to kind of change the video that we currently have because things have changed. Our conversations are centered around how do we get in the mind of an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 22-year-old, because the world they live in is very different. So even at recruiting events in the future this year, we will use some type of tablet technology and either have a presenter or some type of screen that'll run the video constantly when you're working the lines instead of waiting. We hope anybody who's already pre-registered, we can just use that to check them in. In other words, try to engage them, get them doing something different very quickly and entice them to want to talk to us about technology. So thanks. Good point.
Mr. Webb.
Thank you. I noticed on the map the number of states were limited. Is there a reason for that? Is that a budgetary reason, or why aren't we doing more of an outreach?
We had other areas that we have gone to. We've gone to Michigan, we've gone to California, we've done others. But this year we focused on the places where we were getting more folks coming from. So the colleges where we actually had more applicants coming to us from. The reality is that people from California sometimes don't want to move over here. So our recruitment efforts in California and the Michigan circuit, just like Maryland has the Maryland Recruitment Consortium, Michigan has a similar one. And we've participated in that off and on over the past few years. We have not gotten a good return on our investment from that participation. Whereas the New York circuit and the Pennsylvania circuit is where we do get lots of applicants and lots of really good quality candidates. So we figure a focused effort on those schools where we know people are interested and where they have friends that are here, because as Ms. Ritchie pointed out, it's good to know someone who does what you do, and the best referral is someone who's a happy employee in Anne Arundel County.
You mentioned that you have a limited pool of recruits. I would think you would want to expand your reach to try to grow that pool of recruits. Just a thought. Also, it seems to me that I don't think it's policy, but new teachers come in, they go to a school, and they're immediately, like Daniel, thrown in the lion's den, i.e. they get the worst classes, the worst children to deal with, and they have to struggle through that in their first year. Is there any way to maybe switch that around where the senior people are dealing with the tougher classes, the seasoned people, rather than the new people, to give the new people a chance to get their feet firmly planted on the ground?
So I think the philosophy used to be exactly, put them in there and let them deal with the worst classes. I'd like to believe that most of our principals now look at their culture as very important, and they use things like a beginning teacher liaison, which is basically the first person you see when you go into a building who brings all the new people together, as Ms. Ritchie said. And in my case, when I first started teaching, actually took us out to dinner, showed us the community. We ended up forming these relationships that still exist, and none of us are in any position like we were then, many across the country at this point in time. So that's one resource. I think the Right Start Advisor obviously is another. I do think there's some limitations, though. As you talk about high school schedules, sometimes those pieces are harder, and they do mean, like I did my first year, I did have to float around the school, but I felt very much supported by not just the science department, but the math department, which is where I used a lot of their rooms during the day. So I'd like to believe that philosophy is changing, and that through our PD sessions, we continue to really focus on positive culture for our schools.
I'd like to believe that too, but unfortunately there have been too many schools I've gone to where that hasn't been the case. And I think that might be a problem when it comes to retention. That's something I think we should look at very carefully.
Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, ma'am. I had a few questions and then a comment or two. On the Teacher Diversity Weekend for 2015, do we know what those dates are? It's always a nice weekend that if I can get it on the calendar, I can plan around.
It's usually in May.
Yes, it is May 13th through the 17th of 2015.
Thank you very, very much. And then I don't know if there's no slide number really to point to, so it's the slide entitled Recruitment Efforts of 2014 and 2015. It showed 761 new hires, and that was as of 10/6/2014. I did a little math, and you had 594 Unit 1 employees that were hired as new hires, and my math showed something like 167 or so of those were all the other units.
That's correct. So teaching assistants, custodians, those are new hires from last school year till that point in time.
Can we get the breakdown of what all the other units were and what the minority associated with all the other units were? Of that, basically of that 167 pool, what went to Unit 2, 3, 4, and so forth?
Sure.
And then the most disturbing piece of the entire presentation, for me anyway, had to do with when we looked at the overall employee demographics, the bar charts, and it broke down Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4. And we were sort of bending the curve a little bit relative, not so much in Unit 1, from 11 to 12, 12 to 13, 13 to 14, but we significantly took a step back in 2014 to 2015. And it didn't overly bother me until I turned to Unit 2. And Unit 2, we were bending the curve 22% in 11, 12, 22.69% in 2012, 2013, 21%, and then 2014 and 2015, we went all the way back to 18.24. Now you go from Unit 2 and you go to Unit 3, and we were at that 46 minority, 46.66%, and then again, that curve was bending, and then we in 2014, 2015 dropped all the way from 46% to 46% to 42%. And then I looked at Unit 4, and you have the same thing. We're bending that curve in 2011, 12, 13, 14, and we just lost ground. In 2014, 2015, we went from the 23, 22%, and we went to minority employee demographics to 19.6. Again, we dropped below 20. And then you go to Unit 5, you're talking your leadership. Unit 6, your leadership across the district. And these are the most disturbing. The most disturbing being for Unit 5, we were at 24% over 11, 12, 13, 14. And then we lost steam in 2014, 15 to 15%. That's 10% in Unit 5. And you look at leadership across the district, Unit 6, and we went from 29% in 2013, 14, 22% in 2012, 2013. We were bending that curve, and we lost ground in 2014, 15 to 15.56%. What's my point? Next year's data, I hope next year's data will show us a little something different to where we start that process again. And Ms. Burge wrote it down. Dr. Maxwell hired them all away, and I'm hoping at the end of the day we can get back on a trajectory that allows us to move to where we truly, really want to be. And the one question I asked Dr. Maxwell, and I'll ask again tonight because I ask every single briefing that we have, when are we going to get from a leadership standpoint where we're seeing Hispanic principals out there, Hispanics in our Board of Education in leadership positions, because that matters to those Hispanic children when they see in front of them not just a Hispanic teacher across our district, but they see a Hispanic and an Asian American and others and an Indian American in front of them in leadership positions across our district, because there are qualified folks if we dig deep enough and hard enough They do exist. And so that piece of the presentation was the most disturbing, to some extent for me. And then it was mentioned by one of my colleagues a few minutes ago about retention. And you answered the question, Ms. Bozzella, that had to do with, ABSE is providing some of the mentoring and Right Start Advisors are providing some of the mentoring. I think one of the answers to the question that was given, we've got to show a path to leadership for folks. We've got to give them a vision. And that has to happen from recruitment into retention, into them seeing leadership happen for them. And I don't know if the answers to some of your questions like ABSE and the Right Start Advisor, are those programs really working? Are we really sitting down and taking stock on the return on investment of, and that's just two. There are others out there that we ought to be asking our question as a district. Are they working? And if they are not working, we need to shed them by the wayside and look for really, truly what works. Because I don't think we have it. And we lost a lot, not just to Dr. Maxwell in Prince George's County. I mean, we lost to other counties. Dr. Washington decided to retire associated with ABSE. Vanessa Bass retired and then went over to Prince George's County. Andrea Kane went on somewhere else. Those were influential people in the ABSE organization that they're not there anymore. So who's doing that real true mentoring? Is that return on investment that we're putting into those programs really, are we getting what we should be getting relative to the effort that's being paid into them? I think that's a worthy question that we need to be asking if we want to be better next year than what the data shows this year. Thank you, ma'am.
Could I ask if you go back to the slides that had overall employee demographics, unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just for the benefit of those watching who don't know what those units are, if you could just quickly share that, because we keep talking about units.
Absolutely. So Unit 1 is primarily our teachers, but it does include student services such as school counselors and pupil personnel workers and psychologists. It also includes speech and language pathologists, occupational therapists, and physical therapists. Unit 2 are your school administrators, assistant principals and principals, and coordinators here at the central office. Unit 3 is maintenance and operations staff. So that's custodians and maintenance workers, our electricians, our plumbers, our HVAC folks. Unit 4 is primarily, it's SAAC, and it is our teacher assistants and secretaries, as well as administrative secretaries here in the central office. Unit 5 is professional support, and those are primarily the folks that work in human resources, in budget and finance, and technology. They do include your school business managers, some of your bilingual facilitators, and then Unit 6 is the executive team.
Thank you. Mr. Webb.
Thank you for asking for that chart to be shown, because what I wanted to talk about was what I'm seeing there. Unit 3, 42.46% minority. Unit 1, 8.21. I was at the NAACP Awards Banquet Friday, and it may have been you, Mr. Stansberry, that mentioned that there were more custodians, black custodians, than black teachers. That's embarrassing. We've got to do something about that. And I'm telling you, we can reach out further, build that pool up, and do a better job than we've done so far.
Dr. Arlotto.
Thank you. Just want to address a couple of points. Mr. Jackson, so that for the folks that are watching and listening here tonight, the two of the programs that you talk about with regard to retention, one being the Right Start Advisors, we're required by state mandate, by legislation, to have mentors for all of our teachers. We think we have one of the best programs in the state. It's underfunded and it's understaffed. We need more folks. You can see if you're bringing in 500 plus teachers a year and you're spreading them across, just a few individuals. I think what's the number now of Right Start advisors?
About 40, I believe.
About 40 or so, and you're bringing in 500 plus, so it's understaffed and underfunded. And so that's something that we need. We agree with you, we need to take a look at, but it is a mandate. The other is you talk about ABSE and that program. That's the Alliance of Black School Educators, and the work that they're doing in mentoring is all volunteer work. That's not a program that we would cut. Those are folks, those are professionals, and you named several that left us recently. Those are professionals here in the system that choose to mentor folks around the system. We thank them for that mentorship. We think it helps a great deal, and we're going to encourage more folks to take those on as volunteer and professional responsibilities.
Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I'm glad to hear you say things like encourage others to get involved associated with ABSE, because all I'm asking is I think we need to look at the quality associated with Right Start advisorship, as well as ABSE is just one. There may be other programs that are helping and mentoring our minorities that we also maybe need to get engaged. But if we don't have enough Right Start advisors, I'm looking forward to the 10 December presentation associated with our budget, in hopes that we will apply the necessary resources in our budget request to ask for those things, because we don't want whatever the average was there associated. If we have 40 and we've got 500 new teachers coming in, then what should that real number be? So I'm excited to hear that we need more, and therefore we need more resources, and therefore we need to ask for more resources associated with being able to ensure that our Right Start advisors are able to do the quality job that they need to do. Relative on one other point, the real reason that I turned my mic on is because also in past years I've said, tell me where you want to go. If I need to pay the bill myself in order to meet you there, Lane College, Jackson, Tennessee, wherever it is, tell me when to show up. If I can fit that into my calendar, I'd be happy to. And I have yet to be given, hey, can you do this? Can you go here? Kind of like what Mr. Webb said. If we can help, we need some guidance on where you need that help relative to showing up. Showing up is half the battle. Thank you, ma'am.
I just had a couple of things. I wanted to echo what Mr. Webb said. We have a great chart that Mrs. Brandenburg put together showing the total compensation, and I would love to see that included in the recruitment package so that the candidates are seeing what they're going to have to pay out in other jurisdictions for their benefits, so that the bottom line isn't actually as bad as it might look to them if they just look at salaries. And the other question I had is, what, if anything, are we doing to encourage our AACPS high school students or our Anne Arundel Community College students to go into teaching so that we have a bigger pie?
We're actually discussing right now both of those things and multiple options of trying to recruit in high school and maybe partner with Anne Arundel Community College. It has many different ways that it could go, but basically we would get them in at an early age and look at getting them involved in the school system with the idea that they'll come back and be a teacher in the county.
I heard today from some of the staff at Tyler Heights about the loan forgiveness program for teachers who teach, I guess, 5 years at a Title I school, and I don't know how broadly that's advertised. It just as a professor of 18 and 19-year-old students that are worried about their student loans, I don't hear them talking about that as an option, and I think it would be very attractive to kids if they know their student loans are going to get forgiven.
Absolutely. And as Bill has said, in our workforce diversity monitoring team, the exact conversation that you just began here now about growing our own, because we had the data that 115 of our new hires were products of our school district. So if 115 wanted to be teachers and started with us this year, there's probably plenty others that we can start tapping. And so in our next meetings, we'll be talking a little bit about possibly working with the community college and seeing how we can create something that might provide an attractive offer to our students who are interested in teaching profession.
Mrs. Ritchie.
When they were talking about the benefits, what it was a real eye-opener, because a lot of people in predominantly female professions Their spouses usually have the insurance through their companies a lot of times. And when I had to pick up the insurance, I'm paying a whole lot more than any of you all are paying for insurance, let me tell you. And so it might be beneficial to let people know that, because people who are coming up here with spouses may think, oh, my spouse has the insurance and we'll just continue. But when they can see what our cost is and stuff like that, that sometimes, especially when you look at some of the outside ones, I know that's a little bit extra sometimes, but when you think about what the community as a whole is paying and what we're having to pay, sometimes that's beneficial. And having had a student who went to Anne Arundel Community College and their Teach Institute, and it dovetails perfectly into Towson's, and it really is cost effective. She came out with no student loans, so that really is extremely beneficial. And they have an excellent program. Colleen
Eisenbeiser.
Yeah. I mean, she was just at our event that we had at the community college. So, I'm sure she'd be welcome that. But also in the fact that we need to look at, when we're looking at some of our businesses, our chambers of commerce, who's working at workforce development, bringing in workforce and getting people to live and work here and stuff like that. They may want to. You spend money to make money, and that the saying sometimes. So maybe we can talk about some scholarship opportunities that would be specifically for our students, that would be specifically for them to come back and teach, and they can put parameters on those kind of things. But some of the businesses in our community who are looking to recruit and retain people in our county to live and to work here and so forth like that. So that might be something to look at in terms of being able to go out and recruit people and say, I know that the Teachers Association has that at scholarships and so forth, and Anne Arundel County Council PTAs has scholarships, and they're not big scholarships by any means, but $500 buy you some books, or at least get them on your tablet now. I guess that's how we're doing it. So, but those kind of things, and then working with some of them to use for. I know we have some schools that we have. Help me out, internships, and where the kids come down in their senior year to do teaching and so forth like that. And so, expanding that and then, and no disrespect to Mr. Webb or to Mr. Jackson, but taking the minority teachers, I'd rather put some money in that to be able to take the teachers that are teaching in our classroom so that they can talk about the experience and the good experience that they have here and how welcome they feel, as well as what supports we have and stuff like that. I'm not saying y'all shouldn't go along with them, but if I'm going to be coming here, I want to know from the people on the ground what's happening. So I don't know who you take, and I'm sure you take some people and you try to encourage that, but.
Absolutely. And in our teacher diversity recruitment weekend, we always invite back the previous year's cohort, some of the representatives, so that they can give testimony to their experiences. And it's a structured activity as well as an unstructured activity, because without staff present, they can really hear the nuts and bolts of what their experiences have been. But our folks have been willing to come back year after year to talk to the new groups.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity to attend for the first time. It's never fallen into my calendar, so I was able to attend your weekend and for dinner and so forth, and that was really great because it was an opportunity to talk to people and find out why they wanted to come here and talk about how wonderful we are.
Mr. Webb.
Speaking of that recruitment weekend, I'll give you kudos for that. That's always a great function, and we're going to work very hard to make sure you've got more folks coming to the next one.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson.
You stole my thunder, Mr. Webb, because it is. You talk about structure and unstructured. I mean, you can't get any better than taking a boat up the Severn River and just having some time to go under 50 and go under the Naval Academy Bridge and do nothing but socialize and talk about the wonders that's in the Anne Arundel County area. So, I mean, it's an absolutely great experience, and you all do it well, first class, between getting them around to all the schools and so forth. So I got the date. I will go home and in the morning put it on my calendar. Unless I have reserves, I will be there.
Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you all.
Our next item is item 5.02, also a review item, the monthly financial status report and FY 2015 revenue and expenditure projections. And I believe we have a presentation.
Good evening. For the record, Alex Shekno, Chief Operating Officer. I simply wanted to bring to the board's attention one issue. If you take a look at the restricted funding, you'll see that we are negative in one category. We do have Race to the Top funds, and that grant application has been processed. And as is customary, we do go before the county council mid-year at the end of the second quarter to recognize all the grants that the school district has aggregated since the beginning of the fiscal year of July 1st. So that is not an atypical occurrence around this time of year. And once we process the second quarter transfer through the board and through the appropriation authority, that would be rectified this year just like it has all the other years. And with that, I'd entertain any comments or questions the board might have.
I don't see any board comments or questions. Have any public comment? Thank you very much. The last two items on the agenda are consent items 6.01 and 6.02, award of contracts. Do I have a motion to bundle these two items and move them from information to action? So moved. All those in favor? Motion passes 700. We now have an action item. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the Board of Education award the contracts as listed on the agenda as 6.01 and 6.02.
Is there any board comment? Any public comment? We have a motion on the floor that's properly made and seconded. All those in favor? Motion passes 700. I have just a few announcements. The next Board of Education meeting will be Wednesday, December 10th at 10 a.m. The next Board Policy Committee meeting is Wednesday, December 17th at 8:30 a.m. And the next Board Budget Committee meeting is Tuesday, December 2nd at 5 p.m. in Conference Room 2A. Mrs. Burge.
I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session to conduct collective bargaining negotiations or consider matters that relate to the negotiations.
Second. All those in favor? Motion opposed? Right. Okay, motion passes 600. And before we adjourn to closed session, I just wanted to wish everybody a safe and happy Thanksgiving.